Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to another demo and presentation about features on the threefold grid and what you can do with deployments. This time we're going to be talking about gateways and specifically the feature that we have that's relatively new where you can attach a gateway to any generic VM deployment from the dashboard. And this is cool because we've had gateways in the dashboard for a while, but only when they were integrated with specific solutions. And now you can at will add and remove gateways from generic VM deployments. So this adds a lot of flexibility into the system for people that want to do more kinds of DIY deployments. And Meek has prepared such a deployment for us today. We'll be showing start from finish how to actually deploy the dashboard itself. So we'll be getting a bit of a inception here, dashboard through the dashboard. But it's just an example. This could be anything, could be your website, could be an online shop, could be whatever works over HTTP. So with that, I will hand it over to Meek and take it away.
Hi guys, so I'll share my screen and I'll show you the steps. So we kind of put a lot of information in this demo just to show different possibilities. So we'll start on the dashboard. So this assumes you have an account with some TFT. All the steps are in the manual if you need to fund your account. So we'll go to deploy virtual machine. For this guide, we will use a full virtual machine. So you can leave the name as is, but for now we'll call it -1 just to, once you have a lot of deployment, you can know more easily which is which. And for this deployment, we'll use a WireGuard access. So we enable it. And then we look for nodes, load nodes. So here we will deploy on the free farm. So you can choose any node that fits, and then you click on deploy. So just maybe a recap, the name, then we're using Ubuntu 22.04. And I put some 2 vCores and 4 gig of memory to have a quick installation process, but you can do it with less. So then we will deploy.
Should mention here too that the networking options at this point are only relevant for your SSH connection. So you can use Mycelium, you can use Planetary, Network, Yggdrasil. It doesn't matter what you choose at this point, you'll still be able to add the gateway later on, and those things are independent.
We can see now it's loading the network. Usually it takes a couple of minutes, so now we have our deployment. So what we will do now, we'll go into the WireGuard config section. We want to copy this, and then we want to add a new WireGuard config on our local machine. So I will do sudo nano, and I will put the WireGuard config in the WireGuard directory. So then I just copy the content, save the file. And once we have this, we want to enable the WireGuard network configuration. So we do WG quick up, and then we can see the connection is established. So for this guide, what we're basically following is this page on the manual. So what we want to do to access from a WireGuard the dashboard, we want to make a SSH tunnel. So we have here this line, and then you just run it. So with WireGuard, when you make an SSH connection with the same WireGuard IPs, you need to remove it. And so this is just copying this line and then pasting it, and then you can do the normal connection. So now we did our SSH tunnel. So what's cool to show you at the same time is we'll be using a VSCodium, which is an open source code editor. So here we have the extension Remote Explorer, and then we have our SSH target here. So I just make a new connection. And this will set the VSCodium with your remote VM. So this is very useful if you want to work remotely. So we'll open the root folder, And once you deploy the dashboard, you can play with the code itself, and it's way easier to do this on VSCodium than on the command line interface. So here, right click, and I'll say open an integrated terminal. So now here we can see the terminal is open. So what we need to do here, basically, it's those two sections, set the VM and build the dashboard. So what's pretty cool about this is that you can basically just paste the two of them one after the other, and it should install properly. So once we get this, it takes maybe 10 minutes for the dashboard to set if you don't have any network issue, let's say. So we'll let it run a little bit. And once this is done at the same time, so we're going to show you how to connect with the WireGuard connection, and also we'll make a public access. And how do we do this? We'll add a domain on our deployment. So the steps are given here, but if you want more details, you can go on the add a domain to a VM section of the manual. So what we want to do here, we'll go to action, click on manage domain, and then add a new domain. And the dashboard, it's using this port 5173. So this is what we want to put there. So here we are to deployment. Make sure you select the proper deployment. In action, you go to manage domains. Then we want to add a new domain. If you have a custom domain, you can use it, but for now, we'll just use a gateway domain. So you choose one of the two options. And then we want to set the new domain with 5173. And we can see here the WireGuard IP access, it's the proper one here. So we click add. And then we can see on the VS Code page, here when you get this, you can restart the services or just press OK. It doesn't really matter for our case. So now the prerequisites have been installed on the VM. And now it's cloning the repository and installing all the dependencies. So on the left, we can see that the gateway domain has been deployed. So you can have the information in the domains list window. So here we can see that this is our public access now to the node. So we'll show you how to do this in time. For now, we will show the dashboard via the WireGuard access without the public access. So we're showing the steps to deploy the dashboard, but you can do it on, you don't have to be on a virtual machine, but it's just fun to show that it can be done on the grid directly.
One thing I wanted to mention is that you can add multiple gateways to a single deployment. And this means that you can host multiple, say, websites on a single VM, and they would just need to be serving on different ports. And you can add many gateways to a single deployment. They each get their own domain, and they each forward to a separate port on the back end.
So here, you mean you can add more?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And maybe do you want to talk about the TLS Passthrough, Scott, while we have the time? Or so why would someone enable this?
Yeah, so a nice thing about working with the gateway domains is that they can terminate the TLS for you. TLS is also HTTPS. This is just encryption for websites. And I'm sure you've been to a site where it wasn't working and you get a big annoying error message. So this is nice because out of the box, the gateway domain will handle all of that for you. So you can run your web server without needing to worry about getting certificates or anything like that. On the other hand, if you want to handle the TLS yourself, like maybe for a bit of extra security, perhaps, you can also pass it through there. And in that case, the gateway will simply forward all incoming traffic onto the VM, and the VM can terminate the TLS by itself. So this is just a nice bit of extra flexibility that you get. And this gateway feature is implemented as a reverse proxy in the backend. So we call it a gateway, but really what's happening is that gateway node is acting as a reverse proxy towards the VM on the node that's hosting your workload. So that might be helpful information if you're trying to understand or kind of put this in the context of other information that you might have on how systems like this work. And it's nice, I don't know if we mentioned this specifically, but it's nice because the node hosting the VM can be any node anywhere on the network, and the gateway will take care of making it accessible. So we're showing through Free Farm in Belgium where these nodes are publicly accessible. They have public IPs available and things like that. But this could be your node at home or any other node on the grid. The gateway takes care of providing public access, so any node can use this.
Maybe one thing to mention, it's written here clearly in the manual. When you deploy this, it's not to have a production-ready dashboard. It's just to test it on your own. If you want to maybe add something or try a different configuration of the dashboard, but it would not be used as a production-ready. If you would want to do this, use the dashboard to deploy the whole stack, let's say, you can go in the manual here, the full VM grid deployment, and here you will have the steps to have a production-ready dashboard. But it's the subject for another day, of course.
Yeah, you could add a production web server on top of what we're showing here. I think fairly simply, something like Caddy or Nginx. It'd be just a couple extra steps. But this is fun. And like, for example, if you wanted to develop a new weblet, or if you're testing like an FList, this is something that Meek and I both did when we were building the Nextcloud solution. Because if you have an FList and you want to test it, it's nice to have your own custom dashboard.
Yeah, good point. Once we showed you this, we could another video show you how to configure the dashboard. So now here we can see that the deployment is done. The dashboard is created. You can just click here and access it on your local machine. So we can see that the dashboard is working. So it takes a little bit of time to load. And then once it's done, for this deployment, we just use the standard default procedure. So it's on DevNet, but you can run a script to deploy on mainnet or testnet if you want. For testing purposes, it's not really needed. You can just have the DevNet and test it on your own. Once it works, gives you a good idea of how it's working. So you can see here we have the dashboard. And then you can create an account, this with the usual terms and conditions, as you should be aware if you've already deployed on the dashboard. So this will create an account on the DevNet that will be valid. And then you could access it on the dashboard.dev.grid.tf, on the official dashboard from DevNet. So once this is done, you can make your email and everything. I won't go into the details there, so I guess you already know. So this is it for now. So we've set the dashboard locally, and then if you go back on the VSCodium page, you can close the dashboard, and then what we want to do here is to test it online with the public access. So you simply need to run those two lines here on the main TFGrid SDK TS repo. So I copy this and I just run it. So what this will do is it links the public access. So here you can see that now the dashboard is on the network 10.24.2. This is the WireGuard access that we set here. So if you go on this page, you can see that the back end, it's leading to the same port. So once we add this, you can take the domain name we just set, and then you can see that you can access it.